In the diagram, O is the center of the circle. XW and XY are tangents to the circle from a point X. And angle WXY is equal to 58 degrees. Here we have this diagram, and it says calculate, giving a reason for each answer, the value of angle M. So we need to figure out what is the value of angle M. Now here, in order to answer this question, we're going to use the two tangent theorem, which states that tangents meet at the same point, which states that tangents which meet at the same point are equal in length. And so we have this tangent, right, which meets this tangent at the same point. So this tangent reaches this point, and this tangent reaches this point. And so these are two tangents which meet at the same point, and they are equal in length. So this right here and this right here, they are equal in length, right? And so what we need to do is we need to figure out what is the size of angle M. We know that according to this theorem, that two tangents which meet at the same point are equal in length. And so what does that mean? That means that if we have, this tangent, right? This tangent right here meets at this point X, and this tangent right here also reaches this point X, and they meet at the same point X, right? So we have two tangents which meet at the same point, and that means that they're going to be equal in length. So this tangent right here is going to be equal to that tangent. And if we notice carefully, we actually have a triangle. So this right here is the third side, right? And so what do we know? Well, we know that, let me highlight the third side. So the third side is going to be, the third side is this one. All right, so this is the third side. All right. And so what do we have, right? We have that these two, let me highlight it. We have that this side, right, which is the tangent, is equal to this side, which is the next tangent, because they meet at the same point. And so these two sides, right, are equal. All right, and so what does that mean? That means that we're dealing with an isosceles triangle because we have two sides of the triangle that we have two sides of the triangle that are equal. And so if two sides of the triangle are equal, then that means that the two angles are also equal. So that means that if this is M, right, that means that this right here must also be M as well. All right. And so we have that this is M and this is M, and this is 58 degrees. Now, what do we know? Well, we know that the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take, in order to find M, we're going to take 180 and subtract it with 58, right? Now, when we subtract 180 and 58, we get 122, but we have to divide it by 2. And the reason why we're dividing it by 2 is because we have to account for these two angles, right? So we have to share 122 among these two angles equally, all right? And so 122 divided by 2 is going to be 61, which means that this is 61 and this is 61. And so 61 plus 61 plus 58 is equal to 180, so we know that our answer is correct. Now the reason, right? The reason for our answer is tangents which meet at the same point are equal. That's the two tangent theorem. And the sum of the interior angles in an isosceles triangle add up to 180 degrees. And so that's how we got M, all right? That's how we got that M is equal to 61 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the next part of this question. It says, calculate, given a reason for each answer, the value of angle N, the value of angle N. And so this is right here, angle N right here. And for this one, we're going to use the radius tangent theorem. And the radius tangent theorem says that the angle between the tangent and the radius is 90 degrees. So this right here is the radius, right? And this right here is the tangent. And the angle formed between the radius and the tangent are equal. All right, so we have here we have this, the the center of the circle and we have the circumference, all right? And so once you have a line segment that runs from the center of the circle to the circumference, that is the radius. We call that the radius, all right? So that's the radius. And then we have the tangent, right? So this is the tangent right here, all right? This is the tangent. So we have the radius, which is r, and we have the tangent, which we call t. Now the angle formed between the radius and the tangent is 90 degrees, all right? So the angle formed between the radius and the tangent is 90 degrees. Let me do that better, 90 degrees. And so we use a box to indicate that it's 90 degrees, all right? Now, what do we know already? Well, we know from the previous question that, let me use a pen. We know from the previous question that this angle right here is 61 degrees. We already know from the previous question. We're trying to figure out what is n, all right? So all we know is that n plus 61 must add up to 90 degrees. Again, n plus 61 degrees, right, must add up to 90 degrees. And that's because it's the angle between the radius and the tangent has to be 90 degrees. So n and 61, when we add them together, have to be 90 degrees. So in order to figure out what is the size of angle n, what we're gonna do, we're gonna say n is equal to, this is not right, not 180. N is equal to, let me do it out. N is equal to 90 degrees, okay, minus 61. And so 90 minus 61 is equal to what? 90 minus 61 is equal to 90 degrees minus 61 is 29. And so the answer is 29. All right. So 90 minus 61 is equal to 29. And that's how we got that n is equal to 29. Now I had something here. I have 100, let me erase this, okay? So I had here 180 degrees minus 61 plus 90. This is another way to do it. I shouldn't say it's wrong. It's just another way to do it. But I want to use this way, which is we know that according to the radius tangent theorem, that this whole thing is 90 degrees. We know that this is 61. So if we already know that this part is 61, then all we need to do is figure out what is this part. And we gotta subtract 61 from 90. And so we get 90, right, minus 61, right? 90 minus 61 is equal to 29 degrees. 29 degrees. And what's the reason, right? What's the reason why that's the case? How do we know, what's the reason why we chose this? Well, the reason, right, so let's put the reason. So the reason is because the angle between a tangent and a radius is 90 degrees. Is 90 degrees, and that's the reason, because of the radius tangent theorem. And that's the answer to this particular question.